Man, I hate it that my Google Chrome is doing that. What's up, everybody? It is Zach, the Dark Conservatarian, and I am here with hopefully a relatively quick live stream to just talk about pretty much whatever YouTuber says every 4 years, and that is them talking about who are they going to be voting for. And before I go into that, actually, what do I want to do first? Do I want to start shilling a couple of things, or do I want to clarify as to how that I am absolutely not going to be voting for Kamala Harris? I mean, a lot of people assumed that much back when I made my one relatively short video responding to Sarah Gonzalez when she was having her bitchy, toxic attitude about people who said that they were probably not going to be voting for Trump because DeSantis lost, so on and so forth. And because I was getting tired of that kind of bullshit from these people who were all acting like whoever the Republican nominee is entitled to votes regardless of principles and so forth. And so therefore I got assumed that I was going to be voting for Biden, who was still running for presidential re-election at the time. And I can only imagine that with this video that I would be assumed to be maybe voting for Kamala. But in case you cannot tell by the thumbnail, I have the no symbol big and fat right there over Kamala's cackling face. So that was never an option for me at all. Nor was voting for Biden for that matter even. But the big question really is, am I going to be voting for Trump or am I going to be voting for nobody, really? And before I get into that big old subject, I guess I'm going to just go ahead and show a little something to you guys. Give a little bit of an update on my very next editing project that is going to be a big one. Like, seriously. The response video here to Khadija Mabo, whatever, when it comes to cuties, it's coming up to be 23 minutes at least so far, and I'm still not done yet. So this is like a little show if you see on the screen. Let me blow that up a little bit more, actually. There we go. If you can see on your screen, you can see my progress, and I've gotten a lot of progress done, still progressing on it. The video so far is 23 minutes, and I still got plenty more to go. How much more footage of Khadija do I have to go through? About freaking 28 minutes. Yeah, 28 minutes worth of footage. So still got quite a ways away, but it is progressing, and I am quite frankly having a little bit more fun with it than I thought I was going to originally. But yeah, so there's an update on that in case anybody was really wondering. I don't know when exactly it'll be uploaded, probably sometime after the time of the presidential election at this point. So who even knows if I'm going to be responding to? Actually, no, I'll probably respond to Matt Walsh and Co. on conservative overcorrection. But anyway, and also another thing. So I haven't been very active on my main YouTube channel as far as uploads and live streams go. I mean, I have been fairly active when it comes to live streams on my main channel, but when it comes to actual video uploads, I've been uploading a lot of clips or anything really. But there is this one third channel that is actually a cooperative channel that I am running with Reckless Trucker. Reckless Trucker first started it, and he shared me the information for it. And so it's a shared YouTube channel between the both of us, and I've been uploading clips on there. So, and the video that I just released today is Ranting Monkey commenting on a story, a supposed story about Tim Walz and about tribal politics as well. About tribal politics has rotted the brain of political discourse at large, but even on the right in some extent as well. Also, a video of where he talked about Democrats tried to vote to protect domestic abusing illegal immigrants. So it's not like I'm just highlighting the stuff of where that monkey is critical of the right. I'm uploading stuff of where he's critical towards the left as well, like kids embarrass CNN and the mainstream media, and trans murderers, trans procedure paid for by Indiana while in jail. So those are some other videos I think that would interest a lot of people. But link to Americana Project is down in the description box below right now. Go check out that and go ahead and subscribe. It would really help, and that's where a lot of my uploading activity has been as of recently. But yeah, one second here. So onto the subject of talking about who am I going to be voting for. I'm going to take off my glasses because I don't really need them. I'm nearsighted. Talking about the subject of who I'm going to be voting for. So to give a little bit of an update to y'all, if any of y'all have seen my live stream a few weeks ago of where that I did a review of Donald Trump versus Kamala Harris, I essentially went on a little bit too long of a ramble talking about how I'm likely not going to be voting for Trump because of one particular subject. And that subject was in regards of Trump's comments about suspending the Constitution. Well, that's the word that I use, but he doesn't technically use the word suspending the Constitution, but that's effectively what Trump was talking about. And honestly, I only just recently gone really looking into this one quote from Trump, and but because I just recently looked into it, that means that I am not very knowledgeable about the fuller story of it, the clarification and so forth. But anyway, to give a little bit of a time frame, this is what I read in prep of that live stream, and then I gave my whole spiel about who I'm going to be voting for or not. And so this was a FoxLA.com article, and turn over my phone. Sorry, I'm getting distracted with text messages talking about wanting to buy my my car that I'm my old car that I'm trying to sell off right now. But so I read this FoxLA.com article, and honestly, I thought that this was going to be an article that was going to be rather charitable to Trump. That was going to just cover the story, but not be necessarily anti-Trump. And there's the alarm from my laundry now. It is done washing. I need to get in the dryer right after I'm done with this live stream. And but turns out that a lot of this article here is trying to spin the Truth Social post from Trump in a rather uncharitable way. But we aren't going to be reading the entirety of the article, trust me. And I'm not even going to count in the coverage of the quote. Just want to read the quote itself because I don't feel like going on to Truth Social itself. But the quote from Trump reads, A massive fraud of this type and magnitude allows for the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles, even those found in the Constitution, he wrote. Our great founders did not want and would not condone false and fraudulent elections. So we all know pretty much of how sloppy Trump can be with his words. I mean, I know that I can be sometimes, but at the same time, I like to give some super clarifiers, and that is probably why a lot of people think that I am a dork sometimes, is because I would make something that almost I go thinking back on, sounded kind of sloppy, so therefore I go on longer about it, wanted to clarify, but Trump is like almost the polar opposite of me, too much in the opposite direction of where that he'll make a rather plain statement or just a sloppy statement, and most of the time won't give much of a clarifier. But as we'll eventually read this, we'll find out that he did try to give a clarifier. But one thing that he stated, for example, that was very sloppily worded, was a statement about everybody get out and vote. Christians get out to vote, and 4 more years, it'll all be fine. You won't ever have to vote again. That almost implies like if he's going to get rid of the office of the presidency and replace it with a monarchy or something, or something or other, to where that effectively people will not be voting for the highest office in the land. Now, on the spot there, I did not interpret it, in my own personal opinion, I did not interpret it to be that uncharitable. I just interpreted it to be essentially that Trump is going to fix things in the federal government so good to where that no future Democrat president is going to undo those fixes, those repairs. But at the same time, his statement there was so sloppy that I cannot defend it. I cannot really blame a Democrat or leftist for thinking that essentially he is going to get rid of the office of the presidency or something with that statement. And honestly, I would not even completely discount that possibility. It's just that I think it's more than likely that the more charitable interpretation of that statement is true. But it doesn't discount the sloppiness of that statement. And this right here was a sloppy statement as well. And so it gave me, although I think that this statement right here was even sloppier, or at least on first and even second read, it was even more sloppy than that statement from Trump. So I interpret it in like the what you can call the more uncharitable way, and thought that he was going to essentially suspend the Constitution, at least supposedly in the short term, for the sake of fixing whatever fixes he thinks is required in order to stop any kind of fraudulent elections from happening, any voter fraud. And I'm going to be saying voter fraud a whole lot. Hopefully saying that I will not get a strike or anything from YouTube just talking about this. But but it's vital for me to talk about this. But I went with that more uncharitable narrative. And so I made that statement on the live stream where I covered the debate. And it wasn't until like days later that I would like, I do not know what the exact time frame is, but essentially I would get some pushback on the statement, on my opinion of that. Where should I start here? It was like a Facebook, underneath a Facebook post here of my own. And I'm going to do my best not to reveal any names here because I try to keep my Facebook sphere separate from my YouTube sphere as much as possible. But anyway, person number 2, I'm just going to, actually, no, I'm going to just refer this first person as person number 1. I do not know why. I'm sorry. I'm being rather autistic here, people. He's talking about, person 1 says, he's talking about giving Democrats the power to eliminate the Constitution, which is obviously what they are trying to do. He's saying that if they, Dems, can rewrite voting laws willy-nilly without due process, which is what they did, then they will try to terminate the Constitution. I don't have Truth Social, so I'm not sure which post you're talking about. Could you post a screenshot of it so I can see his post for myself and what he said? Now, I'm not going to read this entire exchange right here, but because it gets kind of wordy. But essentially, I go eventually talking about, I'm just going to skip ahead here. I say eventually, and he needs to clarify those statements. I'm sure Democrats are trying to dismantle the First and Second Amendments, and even more. They've been trying for a very long time, but those aren't inherently connected to voter fraud or voter law violation. By that logic, the Constitution should have been completely dismantled back in 1994. With the assault weapons ban on top of the Hughes Amendment in 1986 that both banned guns in massive ways. But they didn't. Despite the Constitution being battered in those 2 episodes, doesn't mean the Constitution isn't still an actively applicable document. And that is the thing. Like, even if we were to give the more charitable interpretation to Trump about his statement about the Constitution, and we were going to try to interpret it as him saying that because of this massive voter fraud, it gives politicians at large, but he is specifying Democrats, the ability to suspend the Constitution. Or what's the exact word? Allows for termination. Terminate the Constitution, I guess, is the more appropriate word that he uses. Terminate the Constitution in all of these massive ways. Like, even if that was right, I don't even think that doesn't make any sense, really. Even with the more charitable interpretation of his statement, I don't even think that that's necessarily true, because the Constitution, long before 2020 and the voting fraud that at least allegedly happened that year, it's been battered plenty of times. The Constitution has, all the way going back to freaking Abe Lincoln with the suspension of habeas corpus and just arresting reporters for, or journalists, whatever you want to technically call them, for writing newspapers and just speaking in general about how that they disagree with the Civil War. Like, but yet over the following 150 years, the Constitution has still been at play within our republic here. And even after 2020, the Constitution was not completely terminated or even really allowed to be terminated. I think that if the Constitution was allowed to be terminated, the Democrats would have done that already. With the power of Congress and the president, and even with the Senate and the split vote, that they could have did a tiebreaker with Kamala Harris as VP voting in whatever appropriate ways that they want to terminate the Constitution. Hope I'm making sense here, but they didn't. They weren't able to, and the Constitution was ultimately still at play because one example that I can think of how that it was still greatly at play was Roe v. Wade got overturned by the SCOTUS because, honestly, Roe v. Wade was pretty unconstitutional. In 2022, that was overturned, which goes showing that objectively, actually, the Constitution is still at play. It is not terminated, and it's not like a Democrat subverted SCOTUS and say, oh, nope, the Constitution is subverted. We're going to keep abortion rights nationally for every citizen of every state in this country. No states can legislate within their individual states on how that they want to legislate on abortion. That's not allowed. No, that the Constitution won in that battle. So even the more charitable interpretation of Trump's words don't make any sense in that regard. But I was still kind of believing that there was the implication there from Trump that he ultimately would consider, at least was flirting with the idea of suspending or terminating the Constitution himself, or at least making attempts on that anyways, because of him being a kind of bitter, honestly, about the 2020 election. Bitter, be it either he legitimately lost or he was cheated. I mean, okay. Don't even have any comments right now. But then days later, actually, let me try and pull up my bullet points here because to keep my thinking process on track. On gun rights and call for the arresting of. Oh yeah, it was days later of when that I would get in a conversation with a family member. One of the other responses that I would get on Trump's comments on that regard is that it doesn't make sense that he would actually be for terminating the Constitution when he has actually been for the Constitution. Supposedly, at least, anyways. But here's the thing: he isn't free of saying things that do go against the Constitution, like the idea of arresting flag burners and throwing them in jail for 1 year, and also his compromising of gun rights, probably stating that he would be willing to compromise with renewing the assault weapons ban, red flag laws, and other stuff like that, a bump stock ban. So that goes to show how in some other ways that he has gone against the Constitution himself. So that was additional evidence why I think that I would not rule out the possibility that Trump would just completely terminate the Constitution, as the basic and more uncharitable interpretation of his words go right there. And one of the other responses given to me by family was, I'm voting for him based on who he surrounds himself with. And that was not really convincing for me. Trump has surrounded himself with people who he's disagreed with aplenty, be it for better or for worse. He endorsed Ron DeSantis, who you guys all know I think is a better politician than that of Trump. I mean, to say that's one politician is better than another politician is not saying a lot, I know, but still it's kind of worth stating for the sake of argument right here. And people like Ron DeSantis, but is also surrounding himself with people like John Bolton, who I would argue would agree is worse than Trump especially when it comes to the issue of starting wars and so forth, like John Bolton. Uh, at least I go hearing basically he's a neocon, anyways, whereas Trump is, if not completely purely non-interventionist on wars, is at least more non-interventionist than John Bolton. But so the who he surrounds himself with argument is not really a big determiner on whether or not I vote for Trump the person. And as far as I'm concerned, if I wasn't going to vote for Trump for a second term at any point, be it 2020 or even this election cycle, really, Trump has already done what he needs to do, honestly, as president. I think he was already good enough as president. He put in a couple, or at least one originalist judge, that being Neil Gorsuch, and he also appointed Brett Kavanaugh and Amy Coney Barrett, and those judges are going to last longer than Trump will be alive, even for that matter. So he's already done what he needs to do, and I would be totally satisfied if Trump did just ride off in the sunset. Goodbye, Trump. Thanks for giving us 3 judges in your one and theoretically, rhetorically, anyways, only presidential term. So that's not really a concern or determiner for me. But on top of that, this family member that I was conversing with when it comes to Trump also eventually shared me a Politico article. Now, this family member, was trying to argue for Trump, in defense of Trump, and trying to convince me as to why that I should vote for him. So I do not know why I'm just going to say she shared me a Politico article of all things, because I was thinking right off the bat, I don't think a Politico article would be really helpful with you in trying to convince me of your essentially pro-Trump arguments, when Politico themselves is like generally anti-Trump and just kind of left-leaning-ish anyways. But I guess at least they're not as bad as PolitiFact. But anyway, ignoring the rest of the article, but just addressing the one statement here. The fake news is actually Trump. Okay, 1 second. The fake news is actually trying to convince the American people that I said I want to terminate the Constitution. This is simply more disinformation and lies, Trump said on Monday on his own social media platform, Truth Social. Now, that was like pretty much the only quote that this article provided post the termination of all rules, regulations, and articles of the Constitution post that he made earlier the time. So essentially, just reading that one bit of quote right there, it just came off as a big fat nuh-uh, as an almost childish nuh-uh with no substance, no real substance, or even any clarification at all on what he was actually meaning. It was just, again, just basically a childish nuh-uh. And I need more than just nuh-uh in order to convince me that, okay, Trump, you're not, I understand now, because I did not understand more. But later, as of today, actually, I would go out and research this statement for myself. And lo and behold, I actually came across a couple of Newsweek articles and a Forbes article. Now, keep in mind, all 3 of these articles, these specific articles, are kind of left-leaning. Like, I don't think that Newsweek, much less Forbes, is overall leftist articles, but they're just written. These are, websites, not articles. But these 3 specific articles are written by some people who are kind of fairly anti-Trump, kind of left-leaning-ish. So, and this is all that I could find. I searched up on DuckDuckGo, by the way. I did not search up on Google. And I even clicked down to see the second page of search results. And really, why is it that so much of the right is silent on this issue? Like, honestly, the silence from the right, from the mainstream right wing on this subject, from right wing pundits, when it comes to Trump's statement back in 2022, is just deafening. Why isn't there more people on the right that are trying to speak up and clarify Trump's words, given their own coverage and whatnot? But lo and behold, that's not the reality that we live in. But anyway, so this Newsweek article, despite still being kind of left-leaning, actually gives a fuller context of what Trump said in full on Truth Social on December 5th of 2022, following up on his termination of Constitution Truth Social post. The fake news is actually trying to convince the American people that I said I want to terminate the Constitution. This is simply more disinformation and lies. So that's the one that I read earlier, but here's the second half of it. What I said was that when there is massive and widespread fraud and deception, as has been irrefutably proven in the 2020 presidential election, steps must be immediately taken to right the wrong, Trump added. Only fools would disagree with that and accept stolen elections. MAGA. Now, honestly, I think that my impersonation of angry Trump might make some people cringe, but whatever, I'm going along with it. But let's just read that one statement alone. What I said was that when there is massive and widespread fraud and deception, steps must be immediately taken to right the wrong. Now, I guess that there is still a slight possibility that when he says steps, he means one of those steps being terminating the Constitution. But really, I'm probably charitable enough with this fuller statement right here from Trump to maybe give him the benefit of the doubt that he ultimately does not want to terminate the Constitution and so forth. That ultimately what he's meaning is that, I mean, this statement here is still kind of sloppy. It's like still barely more than the one out of context first half statement that Politico provided. But despite that, the fuller statement here is like barely any better. But it might just be good enough that maybe I do, big fat maybe I do vote for Trump. Now, I will say that I am certainly more likely to vote for Trump in the lead up to election day of this year than I was in the lead up to election day in 2016. But I'm not quite as likely to vote for Trump as I was in the lead up to election day in 2020. So I'm kind of in that middle position as far as how likely I am to vote for Trump. Like, yeah. What I said was that when there's massive and widespread fraud and deception, steps must be immediately taken to right the wrong. He might be talking about other ways of righting the wrong and not necessarily terminating the Constitution. Now, these articles are linked in the description box below if you want to read these for yourselves. I will tell you that these are like supposed fact check articles from Newsweek. The Forbes article, not so much, but Newsweek goes calling these fact checks, and really, they go trying to put a more uncharitable spin than even I am right now on even the fuller context, fuller saying a statement from Trump in the rest of the article. And they call, but yeah, but still, I'm just ignoring the rest of the article and just taking the statement by itself. What was more of my train of thought right here? So maybe I vote for him just on the fact alone of that maybe I can hold my nose again, barely, but still. And also because I go hearing about how that there are some, I guess there are, at least allegedly, I haven't looked into it anyways, that there is some foreign actors from Europe who are trying to get into the United States and apply for some kind of very temporary citizenship or something in some kind of legally shady way in order to like just add some additional votes to the tally of Kamala Harris. And that's definitely rather shady, if not outright fraud and cheating right there. And maybe for that reason alone, I vote for Trump just to kind of even the field anyways. Because even if I was like totally against Trump and wanted him to lose or did not care, like, okay, I should reframe that because obviously and honestly, I don't want Kamala to win either. Like I would have wanted Ron DeSantis to be president as of next year instead, but here we are. But even if I was apathetic to the idea alone of Trump losing to Kamala, I'm not as much apathetic to the idea of Trump losing to Kamala in a rather super unfair way. So maybe for that reason alone, I put in my vote to possibly cancel out whatever fraud vote or shady vote is tallied up for Kamala's sake. But I'll read the chat like after I'm done with my whole spiel here, people. Don't worry about that. I'm going to try to wrap up what I said here, but what I'm saying right here. But maybe for that reason alone, I vote for Trump just to, like I said, cancel out a fraud vote. But ultimately, whether or not I vote for Trump, I am ultimately still not a surrogate of his. Like I cannot ever bring myself to be like some full-on defender of Trump. I'm not passionate enough for the guy. I never was really to be passionate enough for the guy to go out of my way and start defending him left, right, and center. Like, yeah, I did admit that there were some good things that he did back when I had Strikeforce News more actively going, talking about the daily or at least weekly news of what was going on when Trump was still president. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to like go out of my way and say, defend Donald Trump from, say, for example, his nephew, who I guess recently just came out against Trump. Like, have any of you guys heard about that story? Apparently, Trump's nephew is coming out and saying that Donald Trump is actually denied help to him and his kid, which his kid was like somehow sick, and even was kind of psychotic and cold-hearted about it, saying that maybe it would have been better if he died. Like, I don't know the full details, or I cannot remember the full details of that. Like, I listened to the whole interview of Trump's nephew, and honestly, I had some major questions about that, or at least had. I don't remember what those questions exactly were, but ultimately, I kind of doubted the story, honestly. Like, so far, this is just a big old he said kind of story going on right here on who should we believe. Like, it's just one man's first-person account word against Trump, which Trump, I guess, has so far not come out and defended himself from those. So it's really just a he said, not a he said, but still, I don't believe that necessarily. But I'm not going to go on my way to try and defend Trump from statements like that because I just plain don't believe in the guy that much. Like, ultimately, Trump is largely responsible for why that we're suffering so much inflation that we have right now. He signed those first two stim package bills in 2020. Biden signed one in 2021. So, yes, Biden is also responsible for massive inflation. And there's also the Build Back Better, I guess, and the Inflation Reduction Act, I guess. I mean, I haven't looked very deeply into those. Actually, I have not read those at all, mind you, period. So I don't know the full details of how that they might have caused more inflation, done more spending, but still, Biden is a big-time spender. Like, really, all presidents are just big-time spenders. And nobody except maybe Clinton has gotten us to a surplus as opposed to a deficit to even start paying down the debt, the massive $30+ trillion debt that we have right now as of 2024. And also the fact that Trump is pretty weak on guns. Like, I don't think that Trump is as anti-gun as Kamala. Like, Trump was the same opinion that I had back in 2020 about Trump, where I thought that whilst Trump was weak on guns, Biden is like actually against guns. This year is not really any that different. Trump is still kind of weak on guns, not very trustworthy. I mean, it's still yet to be proven very solidly if whether or not that, if push comes to shove, if he'll just veto a renewing of the assault weapons ban. But we can very solidly say that Kamala Harris, despite her fecklessness on giving a solid answer on her gun position, is still pretty fucking anti-gun. Of where that she said back in 2020 she wants to sign an executive action to ban assault weapons. Like, she wants to essentially renew the assault weapons ban by executive order, not even by Congress, like how Obama tried to back in 2013, or Clinton, rather. I'm not defending the assault weapons ban, but still legitimately did back in 1993, and what was almost done in 2003. No, just skip all that, skip Congress, sign an executive action. Even Biden was critical of Kamala when it came to that. So she's very solidly more anti-gun than him, and not to mention her record when it comes to prosecutions. Excuse me, like wanting to arrest parents for their own kids' truancy, for skipping class and all that shit. Arresting people for marijuana usage, ironically enough. I mean, maybe there are some people that are listening to this right now and think that's actually kind of base of her. Some Republican, standard Republican or conservative voters listening right now who are all like, I want weed to be banned as well. But still, it's kind of hypocritical on the front of a Democrat to be doing that sort of shit. But she did it. And not to mention of how that she suppressed evidence multiple times when she was DA in San Francisco, that would have proven people's innocence. Imagine what she could possibly try and do as president. So that is some pretty fucking scary shit right there. At the same time, I was scared of what Trump might do. Like, on the other hand, Trump is also one to put in like a federal immunity for all cops, and combine that with his like a weakness when it comes to guns, and even like implementing some red flag laws. Combine those two things together, that is very fucking scary. I don't know about you guys, but it's very scary. I mean, it could be just another case of Trump boisterousness, like some people might try and theorize that the American flag burn ban that he wanted to put in place back in 2020 is just bolster, and maybe he wouldn't actually get those done, or at least he would not prioritize those to where that he wouldn't have enough time to do them at all, not enough political capital. But still, I do not like a political candidate who even flirts with tyrannical ideas. But the fact that he probably wouldn't get it done might still mean that he'd still be a safer option than Kamala, who might actually push forward more for her own tyrannical shit. And not to mention also some of the other scary stuff about Kamala Harris, and even Tim Walz too, for that matter. I mean, I guess I don't know specific statements from Kamala when it comes to freedom of speech. Like, I'm sure that they're out there and I just haven't seen them. But one thing that I definitely remember from Tim Walz was at the end of the vice presidential debate, he was saying you don't have a right to shout fire in a crowded theater when it comes to the issue of questioning voter integrity, questioning whether or not there was voter fraud done in whatever election. He was saying ban that shit. And if he and Kamala are, and considering the fact that he is like on Kamala's ticket, might be kind of safe to say that they are on the same page. I mean, it's not like that we have heard any some well publicized statements from Kamala or the rest of the Kamala campaign saying that, oh no, we don't condone Tim Walz's statements. But then again, maybe the reason why nobody says that is because, yeah, they don't agree with that, but they don't want to give an obvious showcasing of how that there is infighting within the campaign. But I don't know. Still, the fact that he says that and he is on their ticket just speaks volumes. That they are more anti-freedom of speech than Trump. I mean, The flag burn ban is pretty bad, but at least Trump did not go so far to say people who say I hate America on Twitter X or YouTube or Facebook that they should be tracked down and banned. People who say fuck America in the public street, arrest them or anything like that. No, just banning the piece of cloth that represents our country. Which that is another way of saying I hate America. So maybe a person could go off on a limb and put one and one together and say that he does want to ban people for even just saying with their actual literal words, I hate America, or even go criticizing America in any critical way. But still, I'm a little bit more skeptical of that. Whereas opposed to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz outright saying, don't question election integrity. Like what else are you going to ban? Like those are like literal words right there, not just the burning of a chart of that infamous like F chart that we have seen throughout all of late 2020 when Biden had that big old spike in voter count. It's not like somebody's taking a paper copy of that chart and burning it, and therefore Kamala and Tim are wanting that banned. No, they aren't just wanting that banned. They're wanting even statements and questions about it banned. Like, freaking YouTube already does that enough as it is. I'm kind of concerned like right now. I am still live right now. Good thing that I am. I'm glad that I'm still alive. I'm glad that I did not get struck. It's bad enough that freaking social media companies go striking people for heavily criticizing an election and questioning an election and its integrity. But what Walz is suggesting is just that the government gets involved, like full stop, just ban that sort of shit. Like I would take a gander that it would probably go beyond just Twitter and YouTube and Facebook. Probably would start arresting Mark Levin and Sean Hannity if they ever started questioning election integrity on their own radio shows and on Fox News and so forth. Heck, maybe would they even like arrest people for stating in the street with a big old sign over their head, oh, the 2024 election was stolen or the 2020 election was stolen? Yeah, there are those implications out there for the mere statement of, or the mere statements from Walz in the vice presidential debate that, yeah, questioning elections is not allowed, it should be banned, and so forth. Like, obviously, there was a lot said in both of those debates of where that I honestly disagreed with Kamala and Walz on. And I guess this is like another thing to say why I would be more critical of Harris, Walz, than of Trump. I mean, we live in a post-2022 era right now. Roe v. Wade is overturned, and each individual state is left up to them. It's left up to each individual state on how they want to legislate on abortion right now. So Trump has gotten what he needs to done with the judges that he appointed, and he's not looking to undo that stuff. He's not wanting a national abortion ban. He stated that multiple times. He called out Kamala Harris to her lying face on the debate stage right there, which that was the highlight of the entire debate for me, honestly. Whereas both Harris and Walz, they want to reinstitute Roe v. Wade, essentially, or something equivalent to that. Just fuck the Constitution, fuck the 10th Amendment, I guess. So, one obvious way that they are worse. Those are a few obvious policy comparisons right there. My own personal opinions and breakdowns about them. I mean, take it as you will. And there are like more that I'm sure that could go on, but I'm just going to probably soon wrap up this live stream after I read the live chat here. PPP, LLL. How is your he's for you? He's a what? Learn how to type, Mr. Sextuple P triple L. He's a rapist, a felon, a racist, a traitor. Square the circle for me. Well, just a word of one rando on the internet. Why should I just go like off of one rando's word on YouTube without any evidence? What I gotta say, doubt it. I mean, where's your evidence? Where's your source for that? Uh, I don't know the full details of statements like that, of those allegations, but as far as I know, those are kind of uncredible. There's plenty of things to criticize Trump on, but him being a proven rapist, uh, about as questionable as the Brett Kavanaugh allegations. Aircraft Sparky says, vote Trump, vote for him early, vote for him often. Aircraft Sparky also says, Newsweek and Forbes are left-leaning media outlets. No, I heavily disagree, Sparky. Like, plenty of articles from Forbes over the years, and my reading of them have been kind of right-leaning. Like, they've had quite their share of articles being critical of Obama's and Biden's economics, and also critical of minimum wage hikes, and critical of one way that Trump is kind of left leaning on, and that is protectionism and tariffs. I mean, yeah, they're being critical of a right winger in that case, but they're taking their criticism of a right winger from a right wing bent in a way that. Anyway, Aircraft Sparky says, I've addressed it. It's cringe, but I'm here for it. What's cringe precisely, Sparky? My commentary or the subject itself? Brady UP says, voted Democrat for years. This is my first time voting for a Republican. Okay, good for you. Bullets 408, voting Harris. Yeah, okay, good for you. How do you turn the page if you have been in office for 3.5 years? Yep, don't make sense. That is certainly something that does not make sense with Kamala. There's just so much cognitive dissonance in the Kamala campaign. And maybe that's another thing to be critical of Kamala. I mean, for all the things that we can like lob at Trump as far as criticisms go, at least he is not as schizophrenic, we can say in short, as the Kamala campaign, saying, 4 years ago, I want to ban fracking, and then later to current year, I've never changed my position, but I've never been for fracking, or I'm not for fracking, for banning fracking. Excuse me. Like she cannot say within the last 3.5 years, I have become against banning fracking. Anyway. Bullets for it. She was vice president. Okay. And so what? Brody, UP says also the border's also a negotiator. Bullets says no, she wasn't. Trump told the Republicans not to sign the bill. No. What bill? What bill did I talk about in regards of? Huh? What bill did I specifically mention in relation to Harris before this live chat comment got posted? You're not making any sense, Bullets 408. Brody UP says, good choice, my man. All right. Well, it's a rather reluctant vote. Aircraft Sparky says, I hate Kamala enough to vote for anyone else, but Trump is better pick in my opinion. Okay. Quinn Rizzi says, lol, what? Lol, what on what? S says, you better get ready for when Trump loses again. Get your tinfoil hat ready. Funny that you say that, S, because maybe initially I did have some things to say about freaking voter fraud, but I could not find enough evidence, or like really any evidence for voter fraud. Like, I guess to be super stupidly clear, I don't really believe that there was at least enough voter fraud that it would have won, that if said voter fraud did not happen in 2020, it would have won Trump the election. I don't think there was enough that happened that would have changed who we have as president right now. So do not project any shit on me as far as saying that I am something that I'm actually not. Or maybe addressing for the brief period that I did. Well, whatever. I don't know. And as far as like get ready for when Trump loses, I guess this like brings up another point for me to bring up in regards of Trump. Actually, there is like at least whether or not that I vote for Trump, I think that there is at least one thing that I can credit for Trump for, as is that he has like at least opened the minds a bit of minority voters to at least be more open-minded to the possibility of voting for conservatives, not Republicans specifically, but people who are more right-leaning in general. Like, obviously, I don't want just a whole bunch of Republican voting loyalists, but the fact that the share of Democrat voters or Democrats within each minority demographic has decreased within the last 7 years is something rather spectacular to watch and witness, from be it from anecdotes on the internet or it's showing up in polls or statistics. Like, for example, how in 2020 Trump got what was it, 5%, 10% more black males or black voters at large to vote for him as compared to 2016. So that the fact that for better or for worse, Trump has like at least opened the mind of more minorities to be open to the possibility of voting for conservatives. At the same time, I guess we have kind of lost a little. There has become over the last few years more, I guess, white people who have become more leftist on the trade-off of that. But still, it's just the fact that there is that what I just mentioned is still fascinating to see when it comes to minority voters becoming more right-leaning, not white people becoming more leftist. Just to be super clear. But I will say that I am a little bit concerned, because even if Trump is to be solidly a lesser of two evils, because that's another thing about this. In 2016, I did not think that there was a lesser of two evils. I thought that Trump and Hillary were the exact same evil, frankly. And 2020, I did come to see that, Trump is the lesser of two evils when it comes to comparing him to Biden. This year, I was starting to think that he might have been very marginally less a lesser evil than Kamala. I still did not think that he was enough of a lesser of two evils. Like, there is a certain line when it comes to lesser of two evils statement. And I guess to address on this point, Mr. Merchant, there is no lesser of two evils. It is pick your poison. Also, DarkCon, what do you think of Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party candidate, outside of being in a third party? I'll get to the second part of your live chat comment if I remember it, but the first part of it, there is no lesser of two evils. I do have to ask, though, Mr. Merchant, are you kind of like how Nate the Voluntarist, at least was, I don't know if he holds this opinion still right now, but are the same as Nate, that if Rand Paul got nominated back in 2016, you would have gone ahead and voted for him, but because he did not get nominated, you were going to vote for nobody? Because that would probably be like a stark example of how that, even if Rand Paul is flawed in ways that anarchists don't like, he was still like very much enough of a lesser of two evils compared to Hillary, or even Bernie for that matter, for anarchists, or at least some anyways, to want to vote for him. But Trump apparently was not enough of a lesser evil than Hillary for anarchists to come out and vote for him. So solidly, I gotta say that I don't want to like discount lesser of two evils completely, but there is a certain line when lesser of two evils is not enough. Sometimes the lesser evil is not good enough. Is okay. How do I word this? sometimes the lesser evil is not less of an evil enough than the greater evil to vote for. There, I think I worded my statement right there correctly. Sometimes you want them to be a lot less evil than what they already are compared to the greater evil. And so on the point of personalities right here, there was like the other hand when it comes to when it comes to minorities becoming more open-minded to the possibility of voting for a conservative or a libertarian even in office as opposed to a liberal Democrat or even just a full-on socialist or communist. But at the same time, Trump is nowhere near that good of a conservative. Like there's still like lots of flaws on Trump's part, and he could screw up. Very well could possibly screw up to where that he just makes all those people of minority statuses that he had acclimated into the Republican umbrella, he could possibly just lose them again. They vote for him in 2024, and then next thing before you know it, in 2028, they are refusing to vote whatever Trump surrogate runs that year because Trump made Trumpian conservatism look bad after they feel like that they've been stabbed in the back. So it is a little bit of a walking on eggshells situation in regards of what new constituents Trump has garnered within these minority demographic groups. Despite the fact that I credit him for gathering new constituents. What else was I going to say? There's some other point that I want to say on that. You know, maybe it'll come back to me again after I read. A vote for Trump is a vote for dictatorship. Yeah, well, so is Kamala Harris. If he ran in 2016, I couldn't vote for him because I was not old enough. If I was a monarchist, I would have voted for him, but currently I wouldn't vote for him on principle of being an anarchist. Okay. I can't speak for Nate, though. Well, I've directly heard the statements from Nate before that he would have voted for Rand Paul if he got nominated in 2016. So, trust me, I know Nate enough in that regards. I guess to answer the question that you asked in the second half of your earlier live chat, Mr. Merchant, what do you think of Chase Oliver, the Libertarian Party candidate, outside of being in a third party? As far as I know, from what I vaguely hear, especially from S-Man too, which you guys know that S-Man has more of a track record of voting third party than I do. Even according to him, Chase Oliver is too left-leaning on social issues to vote for, in his opinion. So he might be too left-leaning for me to vote for too, for that matter. Even if he's like for free market economics, I honestly find him not worth going on my way to vote for. Evan McMullen, I aligned with well enough back in 2016 on both economic and social issues, policies, to go on my way and vote for third party in that year, right in Evan McMullen. But this year, I don't know if Chase Oliver is impressive enough for me to want to vote for in that case. Oh God, what was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, yeah. One other thing that I just remembered from a lot earlier. If Trump loses, there is honestly a good side to Trump losing, in my opinion. Solidly, in my opinion, there has been a cult of personality surrounding Trump. Like, you have people who are all super critical of Kyle Rittenhouse, even wishing that he would have ended up in jail just because Kyle was saying that he was going to write in Ron Paul. and there are like multiple Trump cultists, honestly, who goes like saying that Trump is literally perfect. They go changing their policies, their positions on a whim. They aren't critical of Trump when it comes to spending, but they're plenty of critical of Biden when it comes to spending. They don't want to acknowledge the inflation that Trump caused with his stimulus packages. Only want to address Biden's stimulus package that he signed in that exaggerated or exacerbated, I guess, inflation. So yeah, there is definitely like plenty of those type of people out there. And I say that if Trump loses, I don't know. There is two possibilities to Trump losing. Either A, it could embolden the Trump cultists like even more to try harder, to get even more asshole-ish. And by the way, emphasis on hashtag not all. Not all Trump cultists, not all Trump supporters are Trump cultists. Like, I've been plenty of defensive for Trump supporters as an overall general group, because I don't think Trump cultists make up the majority of Trump supporters. I have plenty of family members who are at least casual Trump supporters. Casual Trump supporters are okay. I might even be able to solidly stay as a friend with them. It's Trump cultists who I would not be able to be friends with, let alone would I be able to have a solid and actual substantive political conversation with them. But if Trump loses, there is a possibility that the Trump cult of personality could just die away. That Trump will not have solidified himself enough of a legacy to for people to be following for the indefinitely for the next few decades, in the same way that Reagan has. I mean, not to say that any Reagan cult of personality is correct. Like, I'm not for any cult of personality, like, at all. Like, the Obama cult of personality was pretty bad back in the day, although the internet wasn't as prolific, so I could not see it as prolifically as I can see the Trump cult of personality on display. But I will say that there was the one video that was made about attributing to Obama when he won election back in his presidential election in 2008. That was quoting the Bible, "Thy kingdom come, thy will be done," Barack Obama. Essentially putting up Obama as a God figure. So there are obviously people on the Democrat side who have a sort of cultish mentality when it comes to these people, and maybe even Bernie Sanders to some extent, but I cannot think of a specific example of Bernie Sanders supporters supporting Bernie as a god, almost literally like worshiping the guy in the same way that people were equating Barack Obama to God by appropriating the Bible quote there. And I also cannot think of any example of Sanders supporters like compromising their principles when it comes to like they were against Bush when it comes to something, but they were defending Bernie when it came to a similar issue, like whatever the issue might be. Unlike with Trump, of where that there are like lots of Trump cultists who are critical of Obama and Biden too, of their spending, but not critical of Trump and his spending. So I can think of the examples of Trump, but not so much Bernie Sanders. Although then again, there is PolitiFact, where PolitiFact did a story. They said that's not true when it came to Trump saying something. But then Bernie Sanders said the exact same thing as Trump, with maybe slightly different wording, barely slightly different wording, and yet they said it's true when Bernie said it. But then again, that might not be so much cultish, because it's not like it's an average Joe who's like compromising on their principles to defend their own favorite political demigod. It was more like a media outlet being defensive of a politician, which media outlets will always do that. Media outlets be media outletting. But I think that's pretty much all that I personally wanted to say. about this subject now that I remember, but let's see what more freaking live chats there are. Okay, here we go. Trump means no freedom, democracy, constitution, government, education, social rights, security, Medicare, Medicaid, housing, women's, gays, blacks, brown rights. So says this Danny Rowland guy. Calm down, Danny. Calm down. Like, lay off the caps lock there and get substantive instead of shouting at the top of your lungs through your screen there. Mr. Merchant says the MAGA cultists definitely don't do their guy a huge favor, and if they met him in real life, I am sure he will not want to associate with him outside of getting their get outside of getting their votes. Okay, yeah, possibly, Mr. Merchant. GMSLLC says not many people seem to have conversations in good faith. Sure thing. Danny Rowland says Trump, one of the Antichrist. I mean, I guess it's possible. And the very moment that Trump starts to initiate a form of currency of where that you have to have a mark on your head or on your right hand, that'll be the moment that I will say, holy shit, Trump is the Antichrist. But before that, no, I'm not convinced that I'm not fully convinced that he is that. Not ruling that out, though, but we have yet to see anything like that is actually Antichrist. Mr. Scott says, Pope? Well, yeah, sure, but it isn't directly related when it comes to American politics, Mr. Scott. But I guess you're not wrong, though. Mr. Merchant says, if I was a Trump supporter, I would want Trump to find successors for himself if he either loses this one and is too old or wins and can't run again. Yep. Honestly, maybe that's what Trump should have done in the first place this election go around, because really Trump does, or at least did, have the serious baggage of January 6th. I mean, I don't believe the Democrat and mainstream media narrative when it comes to January 6th, but it still was a bit of baggage. And also him kind of throwing a temper tantrum when it came to losing 2020 as well. And so all that was some pretty bad baggage. It would have been best if he just accepted an L and gone ahead and endorsed Ron DeSantis instead for 2024. But here we are. And probably, and it is possible, if you had anybody but Kamala, and maybe even Biden as well, if anybody but Kamala or Biden was running right now, Trump would probably lose. But because Biden is so freaking dementia riddled and Kamala is so schizophrenic and rather feckless on like answering any questions, and just so freaking uncharismatic and dumb, and inarticulate too, even more so than Trump. Like, how bad do you have to be at articulation when you are worse than Trump when it comes to articulation capability? Because of all those things with Kamala, that's probably like the biggest reason as to why that Trump may possibly likely win against Kamala. And if Kamala wasn't Kamala, then maybe Trump would lose. Danny Rowland says, tons of Republicans are voting blue this time. Yeah, rhino neocons. Mr. Scott says, tons of Democrats voting red this time. Yep. Neocons will always vote pro-establishment, says Mr. Scott. Yep. Is Orange Tanner a mark? Wait, is that what is showing up in the YouTube browser? Is Orange Tanner in the live chat? I mean, let's see. I mean, the guy is coming up through my end as Danny Rowland. Yeah, still coming through as Danny Rowland. But is Orange Tanner like who you're Are you referring to Danny Rowland as Orange Tanner? I don't know. I'm confused. I know that Facebook, not Facebook, that YouTube has that glitch, or at least I've experienced it anyways, of where that YouTube will show one name for a YouTube account in YouTube comments on YouTube Studio, and then show an entirely different YouTube account name on YouTube browsers. And I wouldn't be surprised if it was the same thing right here. Hey, bro. Hey, what's up, Night Shift? I am about to actually leave here soon, so you're kind of late to the party, Night Shift. Man, this live stream gone on a whole lot longer than I actually wanted to. Mr. Scott says, would you have voted for RFK over Trump? No, I would not have. Honestly, I mean, I haven't looked into it myself, but I trust Ranting Monkey when he says that RFK Jr. is for banning criticism of climate change theory. That he is for, well, okay, no, actually, no, I'm getting that wrong. I was about to get that wrong. No, the statements about banning people from criticizing climate change beliefs, that's not what I was getting wrong. What I was getting wrong more, or about to, was him want to do a vaccine mandate. Actually, no, he's quite the opposite. He might be even more anti-vaccine mandate than Trump or DeSantis, even, for that matter. But because of that, and him having some left-ish policy beliefs when it comes to economics, or at least I would have to guess anyways. Dang it. Maybe I should have looked more into RFK Jr.'s beliefs. But just hearing about the wanting to ban criticism of climate change, or the doubt of climate change, just it was alone enough to make me think, yeah, I'm not throwing a third party vote for RFK Jr. Or I mean, if it was RFK versus Trump. In a two-party setting, I mean, that's what I get for. That's the implication I get from your question there, Mr. Scott. Is if RFK was to be on a one-on-one race against Trump? I don't know. Honestly, don't know. I don't know enough about his beliefs to find him worth considering in a one-on-one race. But in a he was running for third party, and honestly, here's my personal belief when it comes to third party votes. You'd have to be like really exceptionally principled in order for me to want to throw a third party vote for you. If Austin Peterson got nominated back in 2016 for the Libertarian Party, I would have voted for him over Evan McMullin, honestly. But Evan McMullin was the next best thing in that go around, so I went ahead and voted for him. Jo Jorgensen, maybe I was a bit uncharitable to her to not consider voting for her at all, looking back at it in hindsight. But still, the fact that she was running third party was not enough for me to consider her. In a one-on-one race with Biden, I probably would have voted for her, or definitely would have voted for her. Maybe even in a one-on-one race with Donald Trump, I would have went ahead and voted for Jo Jorgensen, not Joe Biden. Damn it. Why do so many people have to have so many similar names? Just made 2 Suno AI songs about why I'm not voting. What is up with that? Oh, wait, those are AI songs that you're making, Night Shift? Damn. I was almost thinking that maybe you got a friend to sing for you, and you had like some kind of instrumental soundboard thing that you had playing on your video editor for the background music. But those are AI? Dude. I mean, at the bare least, could like find some downloadable like instrumental sounds with all the notes included in that, and sing those songs yourself or something, or even get a friend of yours to sing them. Like, maybe you're going to come back with me and say that you're not a good singer, Night Shift. I mean, I don't know. I've never heard you. I have never heard you sing personally, but I can only imagine that's what you say. And if you are going to say you're not a good singer, I got to ask you, have you ever tried singing grunge? Maybe try singing in that grunge singing style of voice right there, and you could be good at it. Oh, Trump's Tanner is orange. Oh, okay, I got you. Is Orange Tanner a mark? I thought the term of a mark via internet lingo was somebody who's a. I thought that was another synonym for troll or something. I don't know. Bronzer, I guess you call it. All right. Mr. Scott finally says, I voted Constitutional Party 2016. Okay. So that's pretty much all that I have to say. This live stream went on a lot longer than I wanted to. So take it or leave it on whether you're going to watch it. I mean, I thought that I did make a decent enough thumbnail for this live stream here. So that's at least enough of a hitch, in my opinion. But I really got to switch my laundry right now. Got to get it in the dryer. And I really got to get myself some dinner. And then hopefully after all that, I'll still have some time to do some video editing of my response video to Khadija Mabo on cuties. Stay tuned for that, y'all. I mean, I definitely know that I was bad at saying that I am going to make a response video to Tim Horn when really I did not do that. So I'm sorry that I never actually got to that, even though I kept on saying that I would. But if you rewind to the very bare beginning of this live stream, see the progress that I was showing on screen. I did a lot of progress, and so the response video to Khadija Mabo on cuties is definitely happening. Unless if I was to have a complete computer wipeout of all my files and everything, response to Khadija is happening. Stay tuned for that. And yeah, I maybe be voting for Trump again, but we'll see what happens within the next couple of weeks. That makes me change my mind again, because I'm still like not passionately pro-Trump or anything like that. Y'all have a good one. Stay safe out there, and God bless you all. Take care. Dang it. Dang it. End stream.